you referenced his speech in Parliament just now. It was his first speech after he came back post his disqualification. There was a lot of attention on that speech. You believe it was impulsive. In other words, not prepared, right?
Yes, yes, yes,
What did you
absolutely.
find? What did you find unprepared about Mr. Gandhi's speech in the no confidence motion?
Nothing was structured, Bharka. See, that has been the feature of most of his speeches from 2004 on. He had very little exposure in the media between 2004 and 2008. But I think he starts taking off before the 2009 election when he makes a grand speech in Parliament, during the nuclear debate, that Kalavati and Shashikala debate.
Yeah,
I think if you look at that as being his first big kind of,
yeah.
in exposure to parliamentary debate or whatever, ever since, the structure of his speech has not changed. He tries to mingle a certain political idiom with a personal idiom, and that does not blend. And
Why? Why would you say that?
yeah,
That
that
could
is
be that
because
could be that could be his style, right? That could be his style. He's obviously trying to
that's
create
right.
a kind of humanized politics.
Correct, but then it also has to. That's precisely why I use the word blend. So when you also sort of, in many times when you speak on your show, you speak almost every day. You blend a lot of experiences and you make it a whole. Here it remains like a salad bowl.
Hmm.
You throw in something, it stays there. It doesn't blend into a soup.
So you
That
mean the ingredients
the
are there, but
experience,
the dressing isn't there? In the
the
salad,
dressing,
the
or it,
dressing.
right.
Yes,
Someone like a Lalu Prasad Yadav will make a soup of it, right?
right,
Not even allow it to be a salad. A
right.
Modi or an Amit Shah, they will make a soup out of it. So
Yeah.
he has the, as I write in my book, he has his heart in the right place. But the problem is the unstructured, is impulsive one. I don't know if he spends enough time preparing. See, this was the greatest opportunity, as you said. He had come back after the defamation case,
Yes.
after his disqualification. Then this was his almost first beginning of parliamentary life after the Bharat Jodo Yatra, although he had made a small intervention in between. But how did he begin? How did he end? And see, surprisingly, Barkha, he had afterthoughts, which he expressed in the press conference a day after he had spoken in the parliament, and parliament was the biggest forum, so he should have made use of that in the book, Barka.
In fact,
I don't know.
a lot of people felt the press conference was better than the speech.
Absolutely, absolutely, he was firm. I have still some problems there, but then, the kind of blanket statements he makes is not something that a mature
Did,
politician can
you
afford to
mean
make.
you mean when he stood up in parliament and he said Bharat Mata ki hatya ho gayi hai, India has
Absolutely,
been
yeah,
murdered? You found
yes.
those statements jarring.
Absolutely. No, you can't say that. You have to sort of slip it in. There is a certain structure. See, in the book, I'm not saying this without giving analogies in my book. Look at how Sharda Prasad used to train Mrs. Indira Gandhi to address a press conference. I write about it. He
Yeah.
himself has written about it, and I quote from that. So there is
So
a certain
sorry.
way in which his predecessors, his grandmother, whom he loved so much, used to prepare for a press conference. There used to be mock sessions. See, Nehru was extraordinarily gifted, and the freedom movement had prepared him in such a way that he didn't probably need a script. But Rahul Gandhi needs a script. Needs us, even if you are trying to make it look impromptu, like Mr. Modi makes it look, it's impromptu. There is so much of preparation and conscious preparation that goes in, so
Yeah.
that is missing.
Yeah, I just want to say that I have come back from a week in Manipur, and in some ways, I came back also with the impression of a state that has a de facto division, not a formal division,
Yes.
but a de facto division. But I'm not a politician, so I would never use a sentence like Bharat Mata ki hatya. But then politics comes with polemics, right? The very idea of being a politician is you also have to be a polemicist. So I want you to talk about why you find those comments jarring. But before that, I'll just play out a short clip of Rahul
Right.
Gandhi from the press conference explaining why he spoke the way he did in Parliament. Listen.
Right.
मैं आपको अपना एक्सपीरियंस देता हूं जो मैंने शायद अभी तक बोला नहीं. शायद पहले बोल देना था। मैं अब तकरीबन 19 साल से राजनीति में हूँ और मैं हर स्टेट में गया हूँ। बाढ़ आए, तूफान आए, सुनामी आई थी, हिंसा होती है, हम जाते हैं। 19 साल के एक्सपीरियंस में जो मैंने मणिपुर में देखा और सुना, वो मैंने कभी पहले नहीं सुना था। मैंने पार्लियामेंट में बोला कि प्रधानमंत्री जी ने, अमित शाह जी ने भारत माता की हत्या की है, मणिपुर में भारत को खत्म कर दिया है। मैंने ऐसे नहीं बोला था, ये खोखले शब्द नहीं है। मैं आपको समझाता हूं मैंने ये बात बोली क्यों। जब हम मणिपुर पहुंचे, हम लैंड किए, हमें मणिपुर में दौरा करना था। जब हम मेटे एरिया में गए, हमें साफ कहा गया था कि अगर आपकी सिक्योरिटी डिटेल में कोई भी कुकी होगा, उसको आप यहां मत लाइए क्योंकि हम उसको मार देंगे। और जब हम कुकी के एरिया में गए, हमें कहा गया अगर कोई मेटे आपकी सिक्योरिटी डिटेल में होगा, उसको आप मत लाइए, उसको हम गोली मार देंगे। हम जब गए, हमें मेटेज को परे करना पड़ा, हमें कुकीज को परे करना पड़ा। मतलब एक स्टेट नहीं है, आज 2 स्टेट है। स्टेट की हत्या कर दी गई है और उसको चीर दिया गया है। इसलिए मैंने बोला हिंदुस्तान की हत्या मणिपुर में बीजेपी ने कर दी है।
Now, let me get your responses to that, right? He's explaining why he said what he did. It is true that today a tribal can't enter the non-tribal area and a non-tribal can't enter the tribal area. When we were traveling, we actually had to make sure that the driver of our car belonged to neither of these communities. Otherwise, we would not be able to go back and forth. But you feel the way he expressed himself in parliament, the rhetoric, the polemics, you feel he got that wrong. And you feel that he has a habit of being impetuous. So elaborate on that.
Yeah, Barkha. I mean, I said there is polemics and there is polemics, right? So politicians use it it's a very, very sophisticated tool. So here there was a context. You were trying to discuss Manipur, and if you allowed anger to take over you, you could not express pain, right? If that is the primary thing that you want to speak about, that this whole area has been polarized like many other areas in India. It's a very unfortunate thing that we see a lot of such polarization in other parts of India as well. And I mean, it's the latest example is Manipur, and probably it's been very difficult. I've seen your reportage, and my heart goes out to the people of Manipur, and I really respect the kind of reportage that you did.
Thank you.
But Barkha, there is a context. It's parliament. There is a certain kind of tradition, presentation that has to happen. There is a certain kind of rigor that is employed. And more than anything else, if you allow your anger to take over, it sort of does not foreground the pain that is there in your heart. I wanted Rahul Gandhi to put his pain squarely there in the parliament, and he could have made people see the kind of reality that exists in Manipur. Now, what pains me or what hurts me or what sometimes makes me angry is that he could have done that job really well with a little bit of preparation. Even in Obama is trying to pull your heartstrings with his speeches. It is not that he's doing it spontaneously. He has worked on it for week on week. If you listen to his speechwriters who now run a wonderful podcast, God Save America kind of podcast, Pod Save America. I mean, you know the kind of work that used to go into writing of his speeches, the right kind of intonation. So there's a lot of work for a politician. That is That is his
I mean,
primary job.
even as journalists, you're taught, as I was in journalism school, write like you speak, only better.
That's
To be effortless needs the most
yes,
effort,
yes, yes,
and that's a fair
exactly.
point. But let's come to
It would
in
have
a
perhaps, Barkha, it would
yeah.
have perhaps, that statement would have worked in a rally,
Hmm.
not inside the parliament.
But
So you have to be
let's for
extremely
one
conscious of
moment,
that. Yes.
agreed. But for one moment, let's argue this from Rahul Gandhi's perspective, who might say, Sugata, the BJP under Narendra Modi has changed the rules of the political game. Mr. Modi can also be extremely political in parliament. He can be in fact, he chooses. He can be prime ministerial in part of the same speech and deeply political in the same speech as he was in his own parliament intervention, right? So,
Right.
the first half was filled with swipes at the Congress party. As the opposition walks out, the prime minister switches to Manipur. The opposition, in my opinion, made a mistake by walking out, right?
That's right.
Um,
Yes.
so I'm saying Rahul Gandhi might argue that today that old culture of parliamentary speech making just doesn't apply because the rules of the game are not the same.
No, I mean, I will disagree a little bit on that, because if you look at, because I did the Deve Gowda book, a prime ministerial biography, I've had a chance to look at most of the debates that happened during no confidence motions. They're always meandering speeches. There are always people who speak about this, that, and everything, because you're essentially defending your government, and you cannot. I don't think you can just make one charge and go away. That's one of the charges, the Manipur thing. The rest is that you have no confidence in the government. So I will not, even if you look at Vajpayee's speech, or Deve Gowda's speech, or anybody else, who was defending his government, that rhetoric and that flourish within the constraints of whatever they could do was always there. And if you listen to Lalu Prasad Yadav defending the government, the UPA government during the nuclear debate, no, he was cajoling people, he was trying to push them and tease them and do a lot of things. And Rahul Gandhi becomes extremely serious, or probably a bit of humor helps, or probably
Yeah.
a bit of concession helps. It has to be structured well. That's precisely why I said that he's impulsive. Probably if he sits down and works, his heart is in the right place, and he's a good person. All through my book, I say he's a sincere, honest, good person. As a person, nobody can dislike him because he speaks the right things. You and I would like to agree with that. But the problem is we are discussing a politician, a public person, a person running one of the biggest political parties in India.
One of the things you say in your book is that if he ever was a reluctant politician, he clearly is not that now.
No, I mean, I speak about his kind of relationship with power and his constant talk of abdication. That's one of the
Yes.
big chapters in my book. So
Yes.
Barka, what I have done is I have not tried to, write about what comes to my mind, but I have looked at all the material that he himself has provided and which is in the public domain. So I've looked at his speeches, I've looked at his, press conferences, his statements that he has made in different forums, and I've tried to, thread it together, and I've tried to say that it's somewhere something rankles him, and he's not very comfortable with power.